today's Dhamma talk. To start the talk, you may all consent with 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Evameva ko auso sila visuddhiyava deva citta visuddhanti ti. Dear Dhamma friends, today is our 9th day, and this is the opening for the sermon on the 9th, along according to this series. As we all know that basic theme for this whole series of the Rathavinitha Sutta, the relay chariots, and we have now completed around 2 episodes whereby Venerable Sariputta is keep on questioning specifically with Venerable Punnamanthaniputta, whether you are living this holy life for this particular purification. And they are presented in an orderly manner, and for each and every one, Venerable Punnamanthaniputta give a negative answer. And then Venerable Sariputta is asking a comprehensive kind of question. Dear friends, that when I am asking you whether you are living this holy life for the sake of purification of the virtues, you say no. When I am asking whether it is for the purification of the mind, you say still no. And purification of the views, you say no. And the purification of when I am asking whether you are living this holy life for the purification of overcoming doubts, you say no. And when I am asking whether it is for purification by understanding the path and non-path, still you say no. And when I am asking whether it is for the purification by knowing and the vision of the course of the practice, no. At last, when I am asking whether it is for the purification of the knowing and vision, still you say no. So then, as an answer, Venerable Punnamanthaniputta is asking, is the purification of virtues, or is it possible to recognize this purification of virtues as the final liberation without the attachment? Then Venerable Sariputta says no. Then can you say that purification of mind as the final liberation without attachment? No. So continuously the other way it is going on. Then Venerable Punnamanthaniputta is asking, without these 7 factors, can one achieve the Nibbana, the final goal, without attachment? No. So that is a kind of a paradoxical way. Venerable Punnamanthaniputta is putting Venerable Sariputta into a difficult situation, and the dialogue or the discussion is going on. And Venerable Punnamanthaniputta says, if the Buddha going to appoint this purification of virtues as the final aim, that he is fixing his final aim still with something which has attachment. That clearly indicates whatever the purification someone is going to gain through these virtues, purification of virtues, it has its own flaw. Its own disadvantage, that the particular person naturally get attached to his or her virtues. So therefore that cannot be called as the Nibbana, the final goal, as without that attachment. And then purification of mind, that is generally understanding, generally interpreted as the concentration. Whatever the concentration you are going to gain starting from the access concentration to the 8th jhana, fine material jhana, the attachment is invariable. And whenever going furthering and going into the purification by views, even that has the same, the weakness or flaws or the disadvantage, this attachment. So he's keep on pointing, therefore, whatever it may be that has its own attachment for that achievement, that cannot be the final goal. If such a thing is, if the Buddha is going to appoint as the final goal, that is a mistake of the Buddha. But usually he is not. And there it says even the last purification by knowledge and vision, still he says, have the same disadvantage. That means the Sotapatti, Sakadagami, Anagami, until achieving the final liberation, that each and every achievement is smeared with, mixed with this attachment. So here it is highlighting, they are really leading one into the other and reducing the attachment in the great extent, but still they have the disadvantage of attachment. So it's a very critical as well as very radical, very dynamic way of the discussion. And but each and every chapter ending with without this kind of purification, one cannot reach the final goal too. So then the question, how a commoner, how a normal person can understand this. Then Venerable Purnamantane Putta come out with a simile or example. He says some people can understand it with the simile. So therefore, I would say the King Bimbisara, Kosala, Pasenadi Kosala, he wanted to travel from Savatthi to the Saketa for an urgent matter. So what the arrangement is, he is sending messages for the different rest houses on the way, organized in each place fresh chariot. And they are obedient. So first he get into the first chariot and then go up to the second one, and then he abandoned the first one and climbed into the second chariot, and then from using the second one he go to the second destiny, and over there's another chariot, and then abandoning the second one he get into the third one, and then there's another one over there organized, and get into the fourth one, abandoning the third, and then in the next stage, getting into the fifth one, abandoning the fourth, and then getting into the sixth one, abandoning the fifth, and then getting into the seventh one, abandoning the sixth, and then he reached the Saketa. So when he go there, huge amount of people, cabinet ministers are waiting to welcome him, and then one person come and ask for the sake of courtesy, "Oh dear king, did you reach the Saketa by this chariot?" So then the king is in a situation, he can't give a short answer. He can't say yes or he can't say no. He has to say, no, this is the sixth chariot or seventh one. At the beginning I came up to this place with the first chariot, and from there I abandoned the first and came into the second, and there from second, from this lap and then to the third. That is the way one can answer. So exactly the way one has to say, this Sila Visuddhi, the first chariot or the first purification, is just for the sake of achievement or achieving the Chitta Visuddhi. So that you have to understand the limited value essential but limited link, what you call this purification by virtues. So, today I thought of taking the same purification of virtues from the productive point of view. At the beginning we see why one has to abandon it. Now again we can look into the same matter, why we should have this. What is the essential characteristic that Sila Visuddhi have, and it is fulfilling in this journey. So Sila is virtues usually basically dealing with the gross most kind of defilements known as transgressional kind, and therefore whenever someone is not concerned about sila or virtues, he or she may be transgressing or thread-passing the social norms, the accepted social norms. So under such circumstances, the society will be disturbed, and ultimately he or she will be caught up by the civil penal code, and then will be judged and put into the jail or whatever may be going to happen. So therefore, if someone wish to go into the refiner kind of, or finer or refiner kind of defilements to be dealt with, first and foremost, he or she has to take this practice of, or if the restrainment of virtues that is directly dealing with the transgressional kind of defilements. Yet another way one can understand it, the restrainment regarding the sila is limited to physical and verbal deeds. So therefore, it is always related with another person, at least, or it is ethical or social. So whenever someone is transgressing, and at least another person, one person going to know, comes to know, one being at least. So therefore it is a social thing. Even at the first incident, second incident, third incident, it is not going to be a famous or open case. Gradually one day that will be an open secret. So therefore, if someone is not concerned about the virtues, one or the other day he or she will going to get caught up, and therefore it is something involved in the society. So any ruler, any person is concerned about the social norms, will appreciate this restrainment regarding the virtues. So therefore, it's a kind of upliftment or refining his or her civilization. If someone has to be a civilized person, uplifted person, gentle person, this is the criteria. So that whenever someone is ready to accept the responsibilities regarding this morality or moral responsibilities, that indicates how much he is cultured, how much he is gentle, how much he is uplifted. So there was a the program in the BBC to understand the civilization, and ultimately they reduce it to the society, whatever it may be, as civilized, those who has the writing capacity. The earliest most people, those who came into writing and reading and literacy, that is what their criterion was. But from the Buddha's point of view, or Buddhist point of view, the virtues very easily can fulfill that. And if someone is virtuous, concerned about the moral code, or concerned about moral responsibilities, that is what we can say if the society or individual, how much is gentle, how much is cultured. So therefore, if someone wish to uplift oneself, the virtues must be considered as the fundamental characteristics. So it is related with the physical and verbal deeds. So if it is not adhered, if it is not maintained, there are 4 kind of fears invariably come into one's stream of consciousness. So knowing or understanding these disadvantages, one can restrain oneself with the virtues, and by restraining oneself with the virtues, by the way of restraining oneself from the virtues, he or she going to give the fearlessness to the society. That means if someone is unconcerned about the moral responsibilities, knowingly or unknowingly, that person is going to give the fear, uncertainty to the society. So fear by killing is definitely involved with another being, and it is a death sentence, and it is a frightening thing, the killing. And the second thing is misappropriation of the properties, and sexual misconduct, and verbally lying, slandering, tale carrying, and frivolous talks. All these things are creating kind of uncertainty and the fear. So some people says you can't do business without lying. That's a very common accepted thing. But therefore they make an excuse, being in the society, being in the business world, difficult to have a profit margin without lying. So last time when I go to America, the person sponsored, he told me there's a product in America now. It's a fat using to apply in the frying pan, so that after the cooking it is easy to clean. But it's advertised as fat-free. And they say when someone is asking, it's a one dose won't make any one dose of application won't make any health problem. Therefore, they say it is fat-free. It's made out of fat. So he says this is the business in America. And one day he has seen an advertisement in the paper. It's a very cheap car in a car sale. So he has gone there and asked this. He says, it's already sold. And so that he has asked the salesman, when was that happened and why? He says, in fact, there was not such a car in the wholesale, but this is an advertisement to bring the customers to the sale. Shamelessly, these things are happening. These are obvious cases, so this is what. But anyway, this create kind of uncertainty, untrustability, and ultimately the whole society collapse. So if someone is concerned not to give that kind of thing, not to give that kind of uncertainty, not to create that kind of a fear or untrustworthiness, that is what does it mean by virtues. So therefore the Buddha says, if someone is unconcerned about that kind of a morality or virtues, he or she is going to get the self-criticism as far as he or she is transgressing these precepts, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, as far as the body is concerned, and the other verbal misdeeds. So when and where you are becoming old age and go to a dark place or become sick, that very crime or very transgression going to come into, and he or she will be entertaining self-criticism. because of this, the transgression. And the self-criticism indicate he has committed, but not much of the people knows. Society at large do not know, but that particular person knows, his conscience. He knows, therefore, when and where he is become isolated and go to a dark place or becoming old age or sickness, he himself criticizing. The self-criticism going to happen. That's a kind of a fear. It cannot be eradicated. Second thing is the complaint from the outside people. People will say he's appear to be a rich man, appear to be an educated man, appear to be the well-to-do man, but still he's unconcerned about this, the transgressional kind of defilement. So therefore, the criticism by the society is the second one. So these two appear, but no much of a harm by its appearance, outer appearance. The third one is one day he will caught up into the penal code, and he will be judged and either sentenced to the jail or whatever may be. So therefore, he or she is always in the uncertainty and the fear, dandabaya, that means punishment by the society. And these three happening one by one, self-criticism and criticism by the others, and the fear of punishment. At last, if he is to believe karma and the karma results, or good begets good and the bad begets bad, definitely he or she knows by passing away, going into the netherworld or to the apaya or hell, whatever may be. So therefore he is always entertaining that kind of fear. So all these four fears, present day we can say frustration. This is the way the neurotic start going to happen. Either self-criticism or fear of criticism from the others, or punishment, or after the death, where am I to go? So these four indicates generally the psychological imbalance. So present day you can read and study how much the people are efficient to understand the frustration versus the virtues. Whole world is searching the ways and means to get rid of this frustration, to get rid of this neurotic situation, but they never believe, they will understand it is something related with the virtues. This is one of the basic misunderstanding in the Freudian psychology. He failed to recognize these ethical values or moral values. He thought by free association or by chemicals, suppressing of your mental activities, you can escape from this psychosis or kind of the neurotic situation. But ultimately, he himself questioned, what is the end of this free association? End of the psychoanalysis? Is it a natural ending or sudden death? He found no natural ending. He himself wrote, at the end of this association or free association or psychoanalysis, abrupt stopping has to happen. That means you are, he has put it in a nice way, the hysterical misery will be changed into the day-to-day dissatisfaction, unhappiness. That's only he can do. The hysterical misery can be changed into day-to-day unhappiness. That's the end of the psychoanalysis. But the Buddha analyzed the situation in a very, very profound way And the way out also, it's a lasting, as far as the fear is concerned. So, but anyway, it is not a commandment. Individual has to understand the value of the virtues and then go through a systematic way of practice that is called restrainment regarding the virtues, and then slowly you can understand how much the mind becomes released and then become little qualified to go for concentration training. That is why the Buddha says, Avippatitharathaya ananda kusalani silani. Oh, Ananda, if someone is practicing the virtues in the skillful way, his all the neurotic situation or the dispersed mind or self-critical mind will be slowly healing. Vippatisara means mind is not at rest. It is agitated and agonizing. Avippatisara means mind calm and quiet. If someone wish to calm down this mental agitation, or sometimes we can say it is the split mind, or internal reaction of the mind, one has to understand the value of the virtue, the moral restraint. So if someone is skillfully applying it, slowly from such agonizing situation, the self-confidence can come, because earlier I used to give some fear to the society. I know that my agitation is due to that very bad moral responsibilities. Understanding that if I can be a moral person or restrained person, definitely this mental distractions will be reduced. And the Western psychology, if someone is to commit a mistake, and he will be destined to eternal hell. No corrections possible. No positive hope. But the Buddha, instead he mentioned, you are definitely creating a hell on the earth if you are not restrained by virtues, but even then you have a hope. Because there is a methodology, by practicing it, you can be a virtuous person, slowly, you can come up to a point where the mind will be fairly healed and agglomerated. He can go into the concentration training. And there is a very nice sutta known as Sankhadhamma Sutta. There you can understand, you can really understand, even the person without virtues, Buddha has some prescriptions, has some instructions how to look forward, have an hope, and go, and how to nullify all the bad things he has done, and have a hope regarding a concentration training, and go beyond that means he is fairly safe to have not the bad consequences of the bad karma or bad result of the moral, immoral responsibilities. So it is quite radical in the way, because they are at the end of the sutta. Buddha says the commoners, they can't understand it, therefore out of the commoners or sansaric beings' point of view, some people doing very virtuous thing and they may go to hell. Some people doing very bad things still go to heaven. Some people do bad thing and go to hell. Some people do good thing and go to heaven. So these are all relative. So there are a number of incidents and the suttas that happened during the time of the Buddha. It has been recorded. So very difficult to understand. So with respect, it is basically with respect to the virtues. So therefore, one has to understand, I am such a person, when I was in age 26, I managed to break all the 5 precepts. And I was searching about how to break 10 precepts. Because that's all I know. And I think fairly managed. And I was sharing with my friends and telling, this is the way I am living, but in Sinhala it is called Daval Miguel, Ra Daniel. During the daytime you behave like a Michel, and the night time as the Daniel. So everyone knows I am like a Upasaka. No one knows that I am such a culprit, so everyone else I am a very calm and quiet person. So, but anyway, I am openly sharing with my friends. So under such circumstances only, I met one of the virtuous teachers. He proposed and he came out with an idea, what about mindfulness? Then I told, you are talking with such a person, I have no even sila. You can't, I have no hope because I am committed with full intention. It is not an accident. Definitely I know it. Then it is no problem. No problem, still you can be mindful. Then I was arguing, telling, no, it is impossible because I know Buddhism. Buddhism says that without sila, no go. Then he is told that you adamant person, you idiot, don't understand it. Why don't you take a chance and understand the theoretical meaning of mindfulness, book knowledge of mindfulness? And up to that point I would apologize, we don't know. And then he asked that, think about, for the mindfulness there are no basic requirements, no basic qualifications. You can be mindful. So when it is practicing, even for a split second, at that age, if I am successful in mindfulness, it was unbelievable for me because I know I am a person destined to hell. And being so, how can I be mindful? Because mindfulness is considered as the highest merit. But these two are two things and happening in the one psychology, in one stream of consciousness. At a time, breaking rules, or going to virtues, breaking of the virtues, or moral, immoral kind of a way, and still you can be mindful. So I was very closely, I would say honestly, sharing with my teacher. He told, no problem. Still continue. And you won't believe when it's going slowly, it's a kind of a responsibility. The moral responsibility is imbibing. You are going to suck. You are going to understand it. When it happens, it is not due to the fear of hell, or it is not due to the fear of punishments, or it is not to show off the other people telling that I am a virtuous person. You can't commit it. So that I thought it is only happened to me. So therefore I thought it's a rare situation. But when you go to the understanding the Sutta Pitaka or understanding the discourses, as I mentioned in the first round also, the Sati Sampajanya Sutta, the Buddha says, if someone is lack of sati and sampajanya, or mindfulness and the clear comprehension, such a person can't have any basis for moral shame and the moral fear. No sati sampajanya means there is no basis, background for the moral fear and moral shame to arise, moral shame to arise. If you have sati sampajanya, that the mindfulness and the clear comprehension, it is naturally you will be concerned about the moral shame and the moral fear, or healthy shame and the healthy fear. So therefore more and more you become mindful. Even if you are living in an unknown culture, you are going to feel the cultural values where you are living. And as far as you have this moral shame and the moral fear intact, definitely the Buddha says, your restrainment of faculties, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, have the basis, have the opportunity If you do not have the moral shame and the moral fear, you have no basis even, the foundation even to restrain your faculties. And then he says, as far as if you have the foundation or qualification for the restrainment of the faculties, that is the proximate factor for the virtues to arise, or sila to arise. If you do not have any ability or qualifications toward the restraining of faculties, no hope regarding the virtues. So therefore Sati Sampajanya is in a sense the starting point, and then going by 3 links through moral shame and the moral fear, through restraining of faculties, leading to virtues. There are some other people, based on the faith, at the beginning they become the virtuous. That means they become morally bound. That at that time they are abide by virtues or precepts out of the faith on the Buddha or Dhamma or Sangha. And then once they understand, once become virtuous, that life is light and lack of less amount of fear, less amount of frustration. So therefore, if he or she is going to appreciate it, slowly go into concentration training, and they are maybe introducing into the mindfulness and the clear comprehension. So therefore, reciprocal action you have to understand. Sometimes the mindfulness and the clear comprehension leading to the virtues, sometimes the virtues leads to clear comprehension and the mindfulness. So, we don't know in our sansaric journey, where are we? If we have already, if we have the endowment or qualities, like already developed mindfulness in the past life or the past time, just by being mindful, that qualities may brush up, and then it will come into the proper full-fledged type. So therefore, you can't say to be mindful, you have to have some qualities like virtues, those kind of things. And even without such a thing, if you start the mindfulness and the comprehension, definitely it has its own way towards the development of the moral restrainment. Some people start with the moral restrainment and then go to mindfulness and the clear comprehension. So therefore the situation is open. So it's a very crucial connection between the mindfulness and the virtues. So, for example, after the retreat, when you go home, and over there you may find some incidents, knowingly or unknowingly you are breaking some rules. Immediately what happened is so much of regret or frustration, telling that you have done such a bad thing, and due to this frustration you find very difficult to be mindful, very difficult to comprehend what happens, because you had no any either intention, or sometimes due to some conditioning, intention comes. Intentionally you break the rules, but immediately what happens is that you frustrate. Your self-criticism going to happen. Or other may come and says, you are such a big meditator, doing this and that, how it comes? All the kind of criticism can happen. So when such a thing happens, you find very difficult to be mindful, but you have to understand these are episodes. After a while again mind develop, mind recuperate and be charged, and there you can again start to be mindful. So therefore you have to have the theoretical acceptance. They are reciprocal each other. The breaking of rules is something sometimes beyond our control. So we have to sympathize ourselves. Sympathize oneself. Even if it is broken, don't rush, because the self-criticism and all the fear agitate your mind. But after a while, when they calm down, you have a full-fledged hope again to start with the mindfulness, and then go to the virtues, you can do it. So whenever you are to see, observe within yourself these breaking and repairing and breaking and repair, one day you will develop sympathy towards yourself. Then only then you can sympathize others' mistakes. It's a very important thing in the Metta Bhavana. You are radiating Metta sometimes that you may be healthy, wealthy and happy or free of hatred and kind of thing. But if you do not understand this quality within your very psychology, or sympathizing yourself for your mistakes, you will never sympathize others. So therefore, not only for your own virtues, even to the society at large, the understanding this in the clear way, very important. So therefore, don't, put labels telling that you are a criminal or you are a virtuous person. They are subject to change. They are impermanent, but understand the impermanent nature and still have a hope to start directly from the virtues or starting from the mindfulness. Ultimately, they are repairing each other. So that much you have to understand, and that is why the Buddha says, Sīlavato bhikkame sīla sampannassa na cetana karaniyo avippatisaro me uppajjatoti. Dhammata esa bhikkave sīlavantassa sīla sampannassa avippatisaro. O monks, when if you have virtues intact, or if you have the moral responsibilities in you, you must not pray. You must not ask, oh, may my mind be calm and quiet, oh, may my mind be free of agitation. The Buddha says it's a universal law. If you have the virtues intact, mind will be calm. Mind will be intact, agglomerated. So, therefore, even you being a virtuous person, and if you are entertaining doubts, if you do not understand this, that very doubt can make your mind agitated. In order to get rid of that doubt, it is not a matter of virtues, it is that a matter of you are listening to Dhamma. You are listening and discussing with Dhamma, and sharing with the virtuous people. They will understand if the virtues intact. That itself is a reason for you to be happy, because the mind is naturally unsplit, not fragmented. So therefore, when not only that you have sila, you must understand fair amount of knowledge or the theoretical understanding about the virtues, then only you can have the full-fledged benefits of the sila. So overnight it won't happen. It's a number of cycles has to reinforce again and again. Then only, even if you are going to lose everything, if your sila or virtues are intact, that is a very good foundation, stand. And when the other person also, when you are associating in the society, the other person is concerned about their own moral responsibilities, whatever may be the status, social, political and economic, he or she become trustworthy. So these are the basic situation when you are finding your associates or the friends. The sila is very important, but that does not indicate discrimination of people or look down the people, those who have lack of virtues. Because they have their own chance to get it again repaired. So therefore you are not make a hard and fast discrimination, but always try to associate virtuous people. As much as possible, slowly you are going to get the good vibes of the virtuous people, and you find the higher degree virtues are impossibility. Otherwise you will think, as a lay people, we can go only up to the 5 precepts and no more, or we can go up to 8 precepts and no more. For me, I would say, if I can break 5 precepts, why can't I can preserve 5 precepts? If I can break 10 precepts, that's a very good qualification to say you can preserve 10 precepts. At that time I had known about that 22-7 precepts, I would have broken them also. And then I would have become a monk much earlier. So you understand you have the breakability, that means you have the chance to correct it. So other person also same. So that is why the Punnamantane Putta says that virtue is not the destiny itself, but it is a chariot, a relay chariot. It is just leading and opening the doors for your purification of virtues, purification of the mind. So this utility value, its flows, you have to understand. If you are going to assume that I am a virtuous person, the clinging can happen. Your one-upmanship can happen. Looking down the others and develop the inferiority towards others can happen. So therefore you must not take it as your final destiny. And you have to understand, without virtues, whatever the concentration, whatever the effort you are, whatever the striving you are going to do with the towards the concentration, it's a failure. So when I was in PAOK, I was there only 21 days or something like that. And when the Sayadaw was interviewing, he told me, now you have fairly completed the concentration type. So I thought of directing you into the Vipassana. Then I told Sayadaw, I'm sorry that I came only for 3 weeks and tomorrow day after I am going to leave. He says, it's a pity that I thought that you are going to live long and I would like to introduce Vipassana and kind of thing. So there's another, the white monk or the Western monk, he was coming and interviewing after me, and he is having so much of questions and difficulties and friction in sitting, in concentrating, can't perceive the object, and he can't explain it. And then daily Sayadaw is giving very basic, simple instruction. Then he told, in your case, the concentration is not a problem. So my idea is to introduce the Vipassana, but in his case, his virtues is problem. So he do not know. Without correcting his virtues, he is striving and trying and faithfully fighting for concentration, but Sayadaw knows never the concentration will be gained. So therefore he is very patiently, sympathetically advising him to take care about the physical and verbal deeds. He is not an uncultured person, but there are some, the constant breaking of precepts. So there Sayadaw is very in the precautional way, letting him know that take care about the virtues rather than the concentration. So likewise, in yourself or when you are dealing with other people, always you have to understand the problem with respect to the background. So many of the cases, it's a matter of virtues. So after correcting that particular loophole or the leak, it does not indicate naturally he is or she is going to take the concentration, but before going into the concentration training, the virtues must be intact. So my Burmese master, Pandita Abhimansa, he used to say that before the operation, the theatre must be disinfected. Without the theatre disinfected, whatever the qualifications of the surgeon or disinfection of the instruments and the nurses won't help. So therefore you must not perform surgeries as far as the theatre is not clear. So virtues, something like the disinfection of the theatre. In the traditional way, the commentator says, earlier there was a chena cultivation, that means people go into the forest and selected a very fertile land, and they chop off all the trees and burn them and put a right round fence, wooden fence, and grow the upland crops. So under such circumstances, the fixing a fence is very, very important, because otherwise the wild beast and the pests come and eat all the plants and all the fruits. So therefore, the Chena cultivation farmers, Chena farmers, take very serious effort to cover the area with the wood or branches of it. It is called Danduata. Danduata is very important. Daily he has to put one cycle and see whether the Danduata or the fence is intact. Otherwise the whole thing will be finished by 1 hour's time. So exactly the way, whatever the precious crops you are going to grow, if the fence is not fixed, you have no hope regarding the harvesting. So exactly way, day by day, when you are practicing, all the time you have to understand the moral precepts. They have many, many, many branches, but anyone will accept the 5 precepts are the main thing. They are the get branched into the 8 precepts, 10 precepts, Samanera precepts and Upasampada precepts. So if you basically give the basic understanding of the 5 precepts, easily you will be developing the mastery towards the higher grades of precepts. So therefore, not only the concentration that you have to understand, your moral responsibilities, day by day it must be checked. Otherwise, all of a sudden, that all what you gain will be scattered off. So therefore, don't let others to come and pinpoint you. Of course, keep it open, but one must be sensitive towards the moral responsibilities. So easily you can understand by the impression of your fellow meditators. If they are going to give a appreciating or healthy kind of association, that's an indication that you have not broken or violated the social norms. And without the censor, without common sense towards that, if you are going to know, if you think that I know the technique, so I can get the concentration, whatever the other members going to have the impression upon me, that won't work. So therefore we are, whether we like it or not, already bound with the society at large. So therefore, the monks, the Buddha says, daily you must remember, Parapatibaddhame jivikati abhinnam paccavekkittabha. My life is completely connected with outside people or the others. So therefore, I can't be purified or defiled without the help of the others. So if someone is going to take the responsibility about the moral responsibilities, it is naturally helpful for the society. So appear like the moral restrainment with compared to the generosity, appear like selfish. But it is always reciprocally connected with the outside world. So therefore, moral restrainment means you are not giving the fear to the society. So this is already bound. As far as you are not going to give the fear, you are not going to get the fear from the society. So your stream of consciousness will be free. So in the Theravada tradition, we are highly appreciating and giving a value for the moral responsibilities, but others say that it appear like selfish because we are going to get enlightened individually, cut off from the society, unconcerned about the what is happening outside, that kind of criticism. But the proper understanding of the virtues, it says, you cannot be morally sound unless otherwise you have the connection with the outside world. So therefore your sensitivity to the world, not only the living beings, even to the plants, even to the earth, everything must be polished. So therefore virtues must be ever uplifting. Sila must be adhisila. And whenever the sila become adisila, it gives a fresh air. Otherwise, if you are daily and ever going to be 5 precept holder, after a while that refreshing capacity will be reduced. So you must look forward to make it more higher precepts. That is what called adisila. So therefore, that will give you a fresh air towards appreciation, and it is very helpful for a higher concentration. So, toward the Parinibbana, specifically in the Parinibbana Sutta, when you are reading after each and every chapter, the Buddha has done the stock phrase or refrain, Sila paribhavito samadhi mahappala hoti mahanisansa. Samadhi paribhavito panya mahappala hoti mahanisansa. He says if the Sila is going to be refined again and again, definitely you are going to get the benefit in terms of good concentration. Your mind will be more focused and concentrated. And if the mind is becoming more and more concentrated and focused, it is leading to more and more higher wisdom. So they are chain actions. So starting from the sila, it's going to give the kick upward. So therefore, when the Mahasi Sayadaw is writing his full treatise on the Vipassana Shunicca, the pathway of Vipassana, the first and foremost is taken these precepts or moral restrainment, and it has been cut into two, the monastics and the laity, and the explanation for the laity is very very well in detail. But his approach is very critical. He says virtues are very necessary and is a foundation, but Buddha has never mentioned which sila and for how many time duration. So he get the quotations or case histories where all of a sudden the minister called Santati or Sopaka or Patachara, all of a sudden they became enlightened, fully enlightened, or become the Sotapanna kind of thing. How such a thing happen? If the sila is so critical, if the sila is so basic, how that happens? And some people instead very virtuous, very meticulous and observing precepts for years and years, and they are striving like anything, nothing gain. And they sometimes curse themselves, I'm so virtuous, why not that I am going to get the higher grade concentration? So there the Mahasi Sayadaw is explaining in the realistic way, and he says, don't get worried due to your broken sila. Many people, meditators, are very, very self-critical. They are becoming moralists. And whenever something goes wrong, day and night they are worrying, thinking that everything devastated, how can I do? Sila is nothing to worry about. You have to repair it in a systematic way and go ahead. So that is why in the monks, whenever a lapse happen or mistake happen, he or she has to go to another high ordained monks and tell him or her, such a thing happened. So I am promising you, in future, I am going to take care. I will be restricted myself. So the other person will say, okay, that your revelation or declaration is very good, but in future, please restrain yourself. And that is how we are taking another person as a mirror and go and declare. So, you know that now we are in the rainy retreat. After 3 months, we have Pavarana. Pavarana means the declaration of the end of the rainy retreat. What we do is, we go to all the members and tell them, we together lived here 3 months, if you happen to see or hear or suspect any mistake of me, please let me know. If I also going to see it, definitely I will correct it. This is the invitation we are going to give, irrespective of the age, seniority. So when that is explained, Upandita Sayadaw says, this is the most cultured, uplifted, cultured behavior, because even the senior monk go and respectfully say all the practitioners, we lived here 2-3 months together. If you happen to see or hear or suspect anything, please out of compassion, let me know. If I am also seconding it, definitely I will correct it. So this is the way we have to have our link with our noble friends. Even in the lay life, we must have a mirror. Irrespective of whether it is seniority or kind of thing, yet another honest, simple person, and go and share. And then that is the way we rectify. Because we understand the human life, it's full of friction. Today's the multitask work, there are so much of encountering with precepts. So therefore, don't make a reason to be self-criticism, but instead understand the way the Buddha has given how to rectify such a thing. But that does not indicate the rectification of the one precept is not an invitation for the second mistake. That you have to take care. So it's an easy way of rectifying, but that does not indicate a license for another mistake. So you have to morally abide, and when you are going there, easily you can understand even at that level, whether you are a male or female, whether you are ordained or not, whether you are monastic or laity, no problem. But each and everyone has to understand the virtues in due respect. In that respect, I am happy that Mahasi Sayadaw has fairly expressed it with all the possible examples. And at last he says, I have written this essay telling, even if you are broken with sila, don't lose your heart. Keep on practicing mindfulness and you can get up. But mind you, if you now go to the hell and ask, you take up the how do you call social survey technique and check it, 99% of the being at the hell is due to lack of sila. So don't underestimate it. Always try to be. But don't make a point to be regret. It leads nowhere. So therefore, one has to understand, and it is self-confidence. But for the moment, what you or we commonly do is, we are heavily dependent on others' impression. Others' impression is yes, but your conscience or your heart is the most important. For that, theoretical understanding is very important. And then the discussions and the deductive knowledge, inferential knowledge is very important. And the best is, if you go and sit, if the mindfulness is intact, make sure sila is not much of a problem. If the mindfulness is disturbed, that is the point you have to understand, that yesterday it was good and today it is bad and tomorrow it will be good and again. So there you have to understand there are some blemishes, some dark spots you have to clean. So therefore, when and where the concentration going to happen, that's a very good indicator. You have a workable condition regarding the virtues. So it's a very good acid test. Daily you have to put into practice. And then tighten your balls from the point where you started, both towards the concentration as well as the virtues. So that is how you can make use this our human being, becoming a human being. We can make use the maximum opportunity to uplift oneself. From the standing point, from the point where we stand now, slowly uplifting. And when that is happening, I am always asking not to try and don't try to accelerate it. Let it happen in the natural speed, and ultimately it gathers the momentum. Once it's momentum taken, you have nothing to worry. But whenever it is broken, you have to give again the start, and you will understand. And you will find very easy, feel very ease whenever we are in the association with the noble friends, because their virtues is nothing to fight, nothing to not be a burden for you. Then naturally you feel you are virtuous. So that is also yet another way to understand whether you are uplifting as far as your cultural, you are becoming cultured and gentle by the way of your association. Whenever you are going to feel equal association or noble association, the traditionally it says you feel like among relatives. You have no fear. You can share. You can ask. You can give. So whether you are male or female, coming from different cultures or different countries, no problem. As far as the virtuous people come together, the understanding is like blood relatives. And that relative nature, the real stream of blood, is equally the stream of mindfulness as well as the moral responsibilities. You have to take care about both. Moral responsibility together with the mindfulness, then only the spiritual friendship and the pure blood going to circulate, metabolism come into being. So therefore always you have to have a fair share or fair respect or concern about the society you are living. So they are impressions. Some people are destructive in criticism, some people are constructive in the criticism. So you must know the art, understand the destructive criticism and the constructive criticism. And whenever the constructive criticism happens, you must be rather happy, because it's a very good opportunity to correct yourself, specifically towards the virtues, and ultimately it helps promote the mindfulness and the concentration. So therefore, the Venerable Punnamanthaniputta says, Eva meva ko auso sila visuddhi yavadeva chitta visuddhatha. This purification of virtues is for the sake of development of the purification of the mind. So, by looking at from the two different points of views, that means seeing the flaws as well as the constructive part, you give a utility value only. You give a utility value to the virtues, and do not over-exaggerate or underestimate. So therefore, if two people concern the same situation, according to their state of mind, their interpretations are different. So therefore, very difficult to draw a line applicable for whole the society at large. It is a very dynamic thing. I think it is a very good quality of a living Dhamma. So you have to daily practice so that you will be uplifted towards the more virtues. Thank you very much for listening. Yes, little more than 1 hour we have taken, and if there are any questions or statements or any comments, welcome before the marking the end of the day's program.
And you said, I'm wondering because about the jhanas, for example, if somebody doesn't get them sounds a little bit weird, but that has to do with the virtues also, right? If somebody don't succeed in the jhana, not succeed in the samadhi concentration in terms of jhana, that means the virtue is very low. Does it mean?
That is virtues are not very stable.
Not very stable.
Yeah.
In my case, I think it is often the speech. The speech.
Yeah, I think that is the most the leaking point.
So, what is recommended? Should somebody goes completely in solitude, or what is?
Put a plaster.
I cannot. When I come to people, I cannot. I have to.
Put a plaster. that put a lock here. That is the leaking point. It is not the physicality. Basically, we are losing our whole potential with speech. It has 4 holes, verbally, physically 3, verbally 4. And they are also basic, the most uncontrolled thing is that frivolous talks. It's very difficult because if you don't say good morning for each one every day, they feel that you are unsocial, you are backward and kind of thing. What a nonsense. That you have a determination. Please make a determination. You must daily understand after getting up how many hours you can maintain without talking. So much so you have the freshness. The moment you talk, then you become socialized and the freshness you develop is finished.
But in my case, for example, I made adhitan and the next day I saw me talking. Was the first thing what I did. And in my case, I think my mind is too expressive, outgoing. And I really wonder after this retreat, shall I go completely into solitude for some years? I really wonder that.
Definitely, I think this is the 5th retreat here. Each and every day it happened me to remind, to maintain the noble silence. But I am not so strict on that. You must understand how to maintain your mindfulness while little talking, no problem. It is completely cut off kind of, I think it's artificial. But it must be a utility value. You were talking to the point or short to the point. And therefore not talking is not the way. That is a kind of a square way of frustrating your faculties. But you must know how to use it. And that's a very important thing is that I mention about this pavarana. Why the Buddha imposed the pavarana? Because some monks make a vow not to talk. Buddha said, no, you have to talk. You have to talk in front of the co-meditators. You have to verbalize. Dittenava, sutenava, patisankayava, vadantumang ayasmanto, pasanto, patikarisami. That means he has to tell the others, we have lived together 3 months, happen to see or hear or suspect, please let me know any mistake. If I am also to observe, I will correct it. So that is a kind of a kick. You have to talk. So therefore we have to in the middle. So therefore you have to sympathize yourself. And knowing, understanding, and expressing that my mistake is my talk. And in that case, I am the worst case. I am talking sometimes 5 hours a day.
But you talk with mindfulness and I am unmindful.
I doubt whether I am talking with mindfulness or sometimes accusing some people and the fighting and all the kind of thing happens. So, but I am not, because I have no self-curse. Because I know even without that, if I can be isolated, it's better. So therefore, sympathizing oneself, still reducing it little by little. The Burmese or Pandita is so strict. If you happen to see you're talking in a far distance, next interview, he will catch it. After the interview, he says, I have seen you are talking to the telephone or to the other person. So he never make any the accusation without his direct touch. So you have to just say, yes. And he says, you came from all the way. You are a monk. And how can you be mindful, be such a looking here and there and talking and kind of in front of all the people? Blackguardly like anything. So being there for 3.5 years, good. So therefore understanding that one's own mistake, one's own leaking place is very important and express it to the others. So sometimes others also will cooperate you. And otherwise that we have no guts, we have no backbone, we have no spiritual strength. So we have to keep on tightening screws and nuts, slowly.
Venerable Bhante, on an earlier occasion, one of the earlier occasions you mentioned that some people are made that way. So, some people can achieve jhana and others can't. So, even if one is virtuous, in the concentration path, there is a limit one can go, depending on that build-up.
Maybe, but we can't frame such an ideas. Because this, the Buddha is not the Buddha, he says it's a nature, is so healing. Nature is so healing. Unbelievably healing. So you have to open to the next moment, it's a completely healed moment. So our bloody neurosis is continuing like the moment. And so we make infiltration, not the infiltration, infusion to the fresh, coming fresh moment. So each and every fresh moment is already enlightened. So who is make it lowly because of the neurosis? Due to our memory and our self-criticism and kind of thing, we always try our best to pull it down. So this is the kind of intrinsic characteristic of the Putujjana, or the commoners, or the worldly beings. Find a reason to underestimate or inferiority.
Bhante, I've heard you say several times throughout the retreat about not to accelerate positive change.
Yeah.
How would you do that anyway? It's never worked for me. Yeah.
I mean, many people asking how to do it faster, how to do it kind of thing. I mean, they are in a good combination. They have understood it, and they are chasing behind to gain more and more and acceleration. I mean, the result-oriented nature. So you have to understand, and the Buddha has put it in this way. Not the last and the high-grade vipassana is the important thing. Important thing is changeover from unmindfulness to the mindfulness. Important thing is the basic. So once that happens, he says, Dhamma has its upanayana, the nature, sanditiko, akaliko, ehipasiko, opanayiko. Opanayiko means once you go, fallen into the stream, it is naturally pushing you to the higher grade, to the higher teachers and higher Dhamma and kind of thing. The changeover, very first breaking over, he says it is marvelous, just like Nibbana. The unvirtuous person become a virtuous. Ingenerous person become generous. And unmindful person understand the mindfulness. So he says, the best we can help our parents is, if they are not generous, make them generous. If they are not virtuous, make them virtuous. That's all. He is not asking to let them to Nibbana. So that once the generosity starts, you feel other person suffering. When the virtue is going to come, you feel the society. Then onward it's gathering the momentum. Don't try to smart. Don't try to be opportunities to get more and more. I mean that when it is catching, let it happen in the very synchronized way, very natural way. So then ultimately, once the momentum gathered, it will do the task.
Venerable Sir, simple question. You mentioned Sankha Dhamma Sutta.
Sankha Dhamma.
Sankha Dhamma. Is it in the Majjhima Nikaya?
Samyutta Nikaya. Sankha Dhamma. The way the Buddha is explaining is it's a real release for the people self-criticizing. Those things that we are criminals, we have done commits, this kind of thing, and he gave the way out. He says, if you know the gravity, and if you wish to correct yourself, rectify yourself, way is there, be vehement, determine, go ahead. You can rectify, you can nullify even already committed crimes.
Venerable Sir, I have a question. You said that some who don't some who don't very good in Sila, they advance quickly, while long-term Sila holders sometimes do not.
I didn't get your question.
Okay, I'll try again. Someone who is not trained proper in Sila can advance quickly, while somebody who train themselves long-term in Sila, they cannot achieve anything. I didn't get the point.
Yeah, that is the Sankadhamma Sutta. Also the Buddha says some virtuous people go to hell. Some people even committing go to heaven. And some people do bad and go to hell. Some people do good and go to heaven. So that is the way the karma theory is just like chaos theory. Have you heard the new theory, chaos theory? Anything can lead you to anything. So very recently one Thai professor, he has written the chaos theory and the karma theory. So in the virtues also, it is completely somewhat related with the concentration or the mind culture. But some virtuous people are fighting, but still no concentration. But all of a sudden a gate crasher comes, and he gets the point, and next day he says, well off. So I mean, this is the way it's working. We have to keep it open. The karma theory and kind of thing, the mind, it's called Chitta Dhamma, or Chitta Niyama, the universal law, the mind is working. We can't understand by understanding my own stream of consciousness. The Buddha has a wider perspective. So he says, don't worry about them, because you can't comprehend it. It is not necessary for your enlightenment. Take your own case. And when the comparison wise, he has given certain criteria, certain rule of thumb. And we can't completely comprehend. And whenever someone is going to understand this Kamma Niyama, Chitta Niyama, Uttu Niyama, you will go insane. Can't comprehend. Yeah.
Dr. Swaminathan, my question is in relation to a previous Dhamma talk. Can you please explain Sammasana Jnana?
Yeah, Sammasana Jnana is for the first time you understand the beginning, the middle and the end of any phenomena. At the beginning you find very difficult to see, but you see the phenomena at the middle, the gross. And the Buddha says technique to go to the Sammasana Jnana is always divert to the beginning, see the beginning. The day you see the middle and the beginning, definitely mind will convert and see the middle end also. And ultimately you are going to see any phenomena in terms of it has its own beginning, so middle and the end. So rather than finding the gradation or gradual differencing, you see the equality of any phenomena, it has beginning, the middle and the end. So ultimately choicelessness comes into being. Otherwise you are choosy. Whenever you are going to see beginning, the middle and the end, it's a universal common character. When the common character happens, anything valid. But the criticism, the flow is, you are not seeing the beginning, the middle and end of the tiny little particle. You see an agglomeration, one unity, one entity. You see the beginning, the middle and the end. But when the Udayapaya Jnana happens, that entity is being completely split into tiny little particles, and then you are going to see the micro level, the same thing, the very fast rising and passing away, without waiting for a split second. As far as the agglomeration is concerned, time factor is there. You can see the beginning, the middle and the end, because it's a heap, it's a hive, beehive like. But the individual bee is very faster than the hive. Sammasana Jnana is called as the understanding the beginning, the middle and the end. This is one dimension. There are many other ways of explaining the same.
Bhante, a monk once said that we had to practice as if our hair is on fire. And because life is uncertain, shouldn't we try to hurry up and speed up whatever we have in our mind to achieve?
So that means that while you get a hurry up and achieved, your ego will be boosted.
But we want to, in this, a positive, wholesome end.
So you see that when in agriculture it says, you can give the sunlight, the water, fertilizer and the air, but you can't pull the plants. Once a conducive condition given, it grows. The growth is not the hand of the farmer. Farmer's responsibility is to give the conducive conditions. So therefore yogi's responsibility is provide the causative causes but don't expect results. So when such an argument happens, the results and the cause are so interconnected. How do you measure whether you are progressing or not? It is depending on the cause. So what your responsibility is up to the point where giving the conducive condition, accelerate maximum. But don't expect any results. Then you need not to have any Nibbana, you are already in Nibbana. When that you are exercising, when you are understanding, you see, we do giving the conducive conditions, causative factors. For that, we are not waiting. We don't take a chance. But we must have the aesthetic idea. No palapeksha. Don't expect results. So then you are completely benevolent, completely the universal, fully open system.
Like here at retreat, these are ideal circumstances. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And I thank you. Oh, yeah. And as you know, and as everybody knows, go back home, and now, for those of us who are not monks, such as myself, there's a variety of real-time events or situations that you have to deal with. And some of them require using ego. Otherwise you don't survive. Some of them require using conceit. Even if you fake it or whatever. So how would you suggest one live this life of sila, which would be not dealing with, maybe not dealing with that, and still having to deal with the real-time situations. Real-time situations are very competitive I'll get to the point. I'll be done in a second. I mean, there are certain, depending on your profession, certain modes of behavior that you just simply don't make it unless you act and perform in a certain way. So how would you proceed with a comment to me on that?
So that is a very gradual process. Yesterday I have so much. If you can do it to reduce little by tomorrow's techniques, tomorrow's ways and means, that is your efficiency. A certain amount of friction you created by your ego, your conceit, but anyway it's a professional exposure, you can't do away with that. But knowing that if you can perform the same thing with less ego, less conceit tomorrow, that is your technique, that is your ways and means, that is the efficiency. Sila, adi-sila. You can't go for 100% sila. Impossible in this life, because life means a friction. So find the ways and means, the better ways to have lesser repercussions, lesser friction, and that is the way you can measure whether you are uplifting yourself. So it is individual or circumstantial, impromptu, improvised. So that is why the Buddha says that as far as you are living in this samsara, no purification. You can be betterment, you can go little refinement, but don't expect the perfection. Perfection happens with parinirvana. You know the meaning of parinirvana?
Parinirvana? I need to have that was going to be a question I was going to put down for tomorrow or the next day. So I'm ready.
So this sutta is, whether like it or not, leading to anupada parinibbana. This sutta, whether you like it or not, leading to parinibbana, you are already destined now. This particular discourse we are dealing is leading to parinibbana. So now you are on the way. You have no chance to consider yes or no. You are committed now, you are on the belt, on the conveyor belt. The completion of the Nibbana, the death. The chapter close. You're going to ask me that what is Parinibbana and kind of thing, no use, because now we are already... That's why wherever you may be, you are on the way back your home. That is the sin. Forget about the question then.
Bhante, now if I am to understand from what I heard, so when we practice, we should not be seeking for the results, but the practice will give the result. Is that right?
That is why the belief means the Buddha is all benevolent. He has assigned this the formula not to get you the how do you call good name or something. It's a factual. He has designed you to the facts. So therefore, if you are really adhering to this thing, no way, it is leading. So therefore, that you have to have belief that in such a way, mere practice is like Nibbana. Practicing itself is like Nibbana. Don't expect any kind of thing. The practicing itself, the way itself is justified, and not the means, not the end. The way itself is beautiful. Way itself is the result. So the day you do wholeheartedly, you are already in Nibbana. Not necessarily wait for the result. So that is the point. It becomes the worldly. It is not transcending. While in the world, if you are doing wholeheartedly, beautiful. Any job, if you do wholeheartedly, beautiful. But our mind is split, mind is fragmented, and it is internal fight, so who the hell can sort it out?
I want to agree with her. That's really something which I also wanted to express. Because now, on the other hand, if we are going to use Sati Sampajanya, then actually when we are in Sati Sampajanya, mindfulness, with comprehension, clear comprehension, then there is no time to think about results. Already we are in a total flow of the event and we are not thinking of results. Talking about the other thing, many a time I wonder, being a traditional Buddhist is going to be a big hurdle in our society, because whether we go to a meditation retreat or in the outer society, we hear about achieving Sotapanna and whatnot. Always, even though we look at the Western society and say they are very result-oriented, in a surprising manner, like in a catch-22 situation, our so-called practicing Buddhists, those who are engaged in meditation, appear to be all the time, honestly, thinking about the results. So, it is a paradox.
So, for that I would say, in the West, materialistic consumerization, in the East, spiritual consumerization. Wastage of so much of spiritual valuable things. And the result-oriented on the materiality in the West, in the East, result-oriented to the spirituality. Two dimensions like. So therefore, that by understanding it, you can make use the situation for the productivity. We have our own the mistakes inherent mistakes, but it is two dimensions in the West and the East. So by understanding, we have an escape also. You can get some hints from them for this side and from here to there. So therefore, shaking hand each other, there are some constructive vibrations or sparks are coming, ignitions.
Yeah, this is just a comment, because what you said made me think of something that a good friend of mine said to me years and years ago. He says, it's not either or. Yeah.
No questions? Okay, then we'll mark the end of the day's situation. So it is a 9th day. So far everything happened very smoothly, so we must be thankful for all the seen and unseen beings, those who have taken pain in organizing this kind of thing and foreseen, and sharing our merits with all the dear and near one, living and deceased, and remembering and straightening of our objective with the help of all the meritorial deeds and the skillfulness we have achieved. With that idea and the sharing of merits, we will be chanting the traditional stanzas to share merit with all the beings mentioned. Ettavata jangammehi sambhatam punya sampadang sabbe deva numodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata jangammehi sambhatam punya sampadang sabbe bhuta numodantu. Ettavata jangammehi sambhatam punya sampadang sabbe satta numodantu. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bummatta devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva cirang rakkantu mang parang. Idang wo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātiyo. Idang wo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātiyo. Idang wo ñātīnaṃ hotu sukita hontu ñātiyo. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Gamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Imina punya kammene mami bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sukhatita sukhi hantu. Sadhu, sadhu anumodami. Sadhu anumodi tabbang. Kamam kamitab. Sukhi. Sukhi ho. Sukhi ho. Abhivādana sīlissa niccang vaddhā pacāyino cattaro dhamma vaddanti āyuvanno sukhang balang. Ayurārogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca. Ato nibbāna sampatti mināte samijjatu. Sukhi ho, Supat.